Shalom, everybody. Welcome to another episode live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg. I'm so excited with the class that he's been putting on. I seem to have a miscommunication today as far as which Zoom meeting we were going to be on, but I finally found it, so I'm looking forward to it. So without any further delay, we got a great crowd today so far in the Zoom room. So without any further delay, let's just turn it over to Rabbi Goldberg. Rabbi Goldberg, how are you today? You've got the screen.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening from Jerusalem. I'm feeling fine. Can you hear me good? It's loud and clear. Everything is okay?
I'm catching enough. It would be nice if it's always closer.
I'm going to do that. Just a moment.
We'll have to get you a clip, Rabbi.
Exactly.
Maybe send you a studio microphone.
It's okay. I'm fine. Not a problem at all. Hi, good to see you, Peter. Good to see you, Tony, also online. Good to see you, everybody. Pesach, hi, good to see you the second time today. I had a lot of inside debates in the last few days because because of the corona, because of other things, we got very crowded lately. And there are things that we already taught in the last year. So I need to do some sort of building up from the beginning, few points. So with your permission, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start this tonight. I assume that it won't finish tonight. We'll finish it next time or something later on, maybe 3 times. But we need to do some, to lay down some basic foundations so we can continue on the same language. The second point I want to say that this is the Zoom meeting of our class. This is a number, and it's going to stay like that in the next coming at least 4 months. So I'm going. Hopefully, I'm not going to change this number. Save this number, and you can also spread it to your friends. So feel comfortable. I'm not sure that I will have the time to start to send emails to all of the people who are always with us. You are all welcome. This is the number. It's always was going to stay like that. Save the number, stay with us, come inside and feel comfortable. Okay? So this is also important note as the beginning. And we are also broadcasting this. Hi, Timothy. We're broadcasting this on the YouTube and also on Facebook, right, Dan?
I actually have a problem today because of cloud coverage. We're in the Pacific Northwest. We've got a huge cloud coverage. So I did a sample before the class, and I was dropping frames. So we're just going live on YouTube right now. We've got about 9 people sitting in on YouTube right now live along with everybody else here.
Okay, excellent. Let's start. Good to see you, Tony. Also, nice hat. So we are going to dive inside. We're going to start the meeting, and please feel comfortable. I'm going to speak, but if there are questions, don't hesitate. Raise your hand. Come inside. Ask your question. It's very important that you will understand, and more than that you will agree. It's not a brainwashing. It's a study together. So it's very important that you will agree, or if you don't understand anything, or if you have any questions, don't hesitate, ask me. I think that Dan, remember that we have one of the most important sentences that we said that we learned in the Kuzari, one of the books, that one of the most important parts of the Bible is that it will be also logical. It can't be in contradiction.
I got it on. It just was late.
Not a problem. Good to see you also, Angelica. So it can't be a contradiction with our mind. It's supposed to be settled down with our mind. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate, ask me. So with your permission, I'm going to share the screen and we're going to start going inside. I think this is the screen I'm looking for. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So let's go inside to this one, and this will help us. Just a moment. Sorry. Okay, we'll start with this. I want to teach today some fundamentals of learning for the Genesis. Now, I'm referring to one of the courses that I have on Udemy. and I think that they're giving it now in a very cheap price or something like that. And this is I think it's an important one, and I'm not going to go inside too much to this now because you can see it on Udemy. And it's basically teaching 5 or 6 mistakes when you're trying to learn the Bible by yourself, or by the way that the Christian world, or maybe even in the Muslim world, they did something very different because they twisted everything up. But in the Christian world, where we have the same Bible, okay, what they call the Old Testament, and how they're teaching it and how we are teaching it, those are two different ways of learning. And there are a lot of mistakes when you're learning the Bible. I want to state here a very important sentence that was being said by Jean-Jacques Rousseau 300 years ago, where he said that for the rabbis of Amsterdam, he started like that. He said that for all of the priests in French, they're all sure, they're all obvious that everything that was written down in the prophets of Yeshaya, it was all said about Jesus. But on the same certainty, the rabbis of Amsterdam, for sure that it didn't refer to him, those prophets. And he said, this is what Jean-Jacques Rousseau said 300 years ago. We need to wait that the Hebrew people will return back to their homeland in Israel, build up universities, and will say what they have to say, loud and clear without any fear. And then we will know the truth. And I think that today, after 70 years that we have the Israeli state, and we are sitting here in Israel, mainly for sure, and we are saying what we have to say, and more people starting to understand that there are two ways how to learn the Bible. One way with a lot of mistakes, and this is what I'm explaining there in this course, and there's another way how the Hebrew people are teaching the Bible or learning the Bible, and this is what we're trying to do. But to take a course about the 5 mistakes is not teaching us what is the right position and what is the right understanding of the Bible. And this is what I want to start to do tonight, to give here a few fundamental ideas. Now, one of them, I must say that some of them we already explained in the last year. So for some of you, it will be, you will say to yourself, now I'm starting to understand much deeper what we said here. But we have no choice. We need to put those fundamental issues, and this is what we're going to do now. So the first one that I'm going to speak about, the first basic rule, is to understand that the Torah was given to the Israel people by prophecy, what we call from top to bottom. It's not something that happened because of their brain or because of their cleverness or because they were very smart people, or there were all sorts of philosophers. No. We're speaking about something different, that without understanding that it came from the prophecy, we can't really understand the Bible. And it's a different level. The most, I would say, the first point that I can give as an example is when we jumping for a moment, I'm jumping to, just a moment, to chapter number 1. And chapter number 1 in Genesis, in the beginning of the Bible, is speaking about 6 days that God created the world before man was here. And this is something that there wasn't any men in this area. So no one can understand what happened here unless you say that we got it from the one who created everything. Okay? Because there were no men here. Who can say, I remember something? You can't remember what happened in the first and the second and the third day because there were no men here. So we're starting to understand that the Bible is related to the prophecy. It's a different level. And because of that, we need to continue on the next conclusion. we're still with the basic rule, with the first one, okay? The Torah, the Bible, is not a history book that is expressing the human mind and reason about its past. We're sitting here with two people, very important gentlemen and a woman from Canada. There was someone there 70 years ago. His name was Toynbee. Toynbee was a very important historical person who wrote down some big encyclopedia of something like 19 books, very fat books, where he is explaining that every culture in this world, the Babylon, the old Egyptians, the Greeks, everybody had just like the series of the year, okay, where we have the atom, then we have the after the atom we have the rainy time, then we have the spring, and then we have the summertime. On the same level, every culture have the springtime, the summertime, the autumn time, and where they're dying, except for one nation. We'll explain this uniqueness of the Hebrew nation, why it is. But this is the way to start with our mind, with the reason that we're trying to explain all sorts of things that happened in the past. Okay, I can say that the reason why Mel Gibson, for example, decided to do a very important movie for himself, and it was spread all over the United States, Canada, and Europe, about the Passion, about what happened to Jesus in the year and a half, in the few last hours of Jesus, like the Christian world is saying. And he did it, and the reason why he did it is because he wanted to reply for what the Muslim did, where they took down in 9/11 few houses in the United States. So it started some sort of a religion debate, and where the Muslims started with one thing, so Mel Gibson answered with another thing. Very nice. But this is the reason why where I'm saying things. But the Torah is not a history book that is starting from the man, because we said the Torah is something that is related to the prophecy. So what is the Torah? The Torah is a contemplation of the Creator about his world. It's something else, where God, who created this world, is saying, observing and saying, look, this is how I want to move on the history. This is my guidelines. This is how I'm moving here things. Please learn and understand what's happening. And if we'll continue on to another profound movement, okay, we are so far from prophecy dimension that we can't understand this in the exact way. And I want to move on and to say that for this reason, after we understand that it's God expressing his way to see the world, we must come back and learn the Torah from the outset. And the understanding of that is to identify for each man who reads the Torah his historical period, and there's a difference between those days, 70 years ago, 100 years ago, 300 years ago, but we're speaking today in the historical period as an individual and part of the community in the fabric of divine eternity, how God is putting us inside here, what's happening. So when we're looking on the Bible in this point of view, we're starting to see that the Bible have things to say to us today, because things that happened a few thousand years ago have relations with the things that's happening today. It's like the master key. How or what happened with Adam and Eve? What happened with Cain and Abel? What happened with Noah with his ark time? What happened with the Babylon time? What happened with Sodom and Gomorrah? What happened with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? All those things, those are ways that God is speaking with us. Not only them, it's not a history book. Those are principles that when we are learning them in the right way, when we are observing them in the right way, God is speaking with us today and explaining to us how exactly we can react in the right way to bring the world to a better world. And this is the first principle, the first basic rule that we need to understand when we are learning the Bible. So it's not only, I'm saying here, it's a mistake to understand that the Bible is not a prophecy. I'm trying to express in a positive way what we need to do, okay? So we can move and understand the learning, the study of the Bible in the right way. So this is the first rule. If there is any questions, please don't hesitate. Ask. I know that part of the things that I'm showing, expressing, saying is not so, I will say it's not so easy, but it's not too easy to understand. But if there is any question, this is the time. If not, we will continue on to the next rule that I have, that I'm going to bring. Everything is okay. I'm so, it's so nice to see that I'm such a good teacher. Nobody have any questions. Great!
I love the material.
Okay, so let's continue on. I will continue. So until you will stop me. Okay, so let's continue on. I'm going to share this again, the same screen, and we'll continue on. The next, I will say, rule that I want to say, and I will put it on the table, and I will explain this a bit more. The next rule is that the creators, we need to understand that the creator decided. I'm also explaining this in one of the courses on Udemy, and it's a time that I will put more courses on Udemy, I know that. The creator is creating men, okay? And he is doing all of this creation with his own will. We're not speaking about, there's a very big debate between the Hebrew nation and the rest of the world. The philosophers are saying that the uniqueness of man, that is very smart. The problem with this is that when you're asking them, and what is God? So they're saying, no, God is the most smartest thing here in this world. But what's happening when you're speaking like that is that you're saying there is a scale of smartness from zero, the dumb people, to the maximum smartness that we have, God. It's the same scale. Of course, there's a very big gap, and God is very smart, but we are on the same scale. This is not how the Hebrew people understand the relationship that we have with God. God
Amen.
is, sorry?
I said amen. No comparison.
Exactly. God is the one who is giving life. And he decided to do that with his own will. Nothing forced him to do that. It's a point that we need to understand. I'm calling this over there always the starting point of the decision of our free will. God decided to create this world. God decided to create a man. Okay, and this is what's written down here. And God said, let us make a man in our image, after our likeness. And this is what he did. He created man, male and female, and he created them. God is deciding to create this world. No one asked him to create this world, and he is giving life. And man is something that is getting life, accepting life. I'm saying this all the time in the most curious way, I will say it like that. When we went out from our mother's womb, someone smacked us and behind of us, and we started to scream. And from there on, we are breathing air for free. In the beginning of our years, usually we're also getting food for free. This is what's happening. Now, we are accepting life. No one forced God to give us life. He decided to do that. And he is not doing this because he's a cruel God. He's doing this because he is a very open-minded and very nice and gentle God who wants that men will have good connection with God. We need to think like that. This is very different than the way of the rest of the world. I will say it very politically correct. Okay, God loved men. God created men, and he, even more than that, he gave him free will, like he himself have, God, because he didn't want to create robots. He wanted to create someone that will manage to fulfill, I will say, and to come to the stage like he is almost God. He is also giving life. And this is, we spoke about this in the last year a few times, when Cain is suddenly coming to this world, Cain, the first man of Adam and Eve, for some sort of, I will say, there is an angle to look at this, and the way that Cain is like the Messiah for Adam and Eve, because Adam and Eve, until the point, until the moment that they brought another life to this world, they were only receiving life from God. Suddenly, they are also on the position of giving life to others. This is where they're managing to turn on to God and say to God, we are part of you. We are partners. We are not only opposing one each other. And to understand, this is very important. I'm going to expand this point later on. I want to continue on with the basic rules. But it's very important to understand, we are not speaking, creator of the world, God of this world is not a cruel God. He's not trying to harm the man. He's not trying to do bad things. He's not trying to, that man won't manage to do those, to do his best. And we will see this because I'm going to explain this point also. Maybe we'll start already tonight. He's giving another opportunity and another opportunity and another opportunity where God is not managing, is failing, he's giving another opportunity because God wants that man will manage. And the understanding that man will manage, that we will come to the end of days where the Messiah will come. And God is giving us all the opportunities that we will manage. And I'm going to show this, first of all, in the beginning of the Bible, and I'm going to speak about this later on. So this is the second rule. Again, questions. Do we have any questions? Everybody's very quiet. Excellent. So let's continue on to the next rule. We're going to explain the next rule. The next rule is saying like that there is a structure of history. The history have the structure of history. Yes, there is a structure of history. There is a structure what is happening here. Okay? And the best way to understand that is that I'm reminding, again, I'm saying here, it's like a note. I'm going to expand everything here. I want to remind us that the structure of the history is 6,000 years, where in the first 2,000 years, there are a lot of failures. Then Abraham is coming. When Abraham is coming, we have, I will say, the opportunity to bring the world to a better world, even though it was 4,000 years ago, or almost 4,000 years ago. And since then, we have Abraham and those who oppose him and those who wish to replace him. Say for yourself, the Christian world, on what side are there? Those who wanted to replace Abraham. The Muslim world, those who opposed Abraham. We can see today, for example, with the West Bank and with all of what's happening between the Muslim world and the Hebrew nation, where they're saying all the time, you are on our own land, go away, go back to Europe, okay? I'm not going to go deep inside to this now. I'm going to explain this much broader and continuing on, but it will explain to us a lot of things that's happening today in history. Today, what we see today, suddenly we will manage to see how everything is already written down in the Bible. When you read the Bible in the right position, suddenly you're starting to see what's happening, and then we will all laugh. We will say, Putin said this and this. Now we understand why he said it. This one did this and this. It was like, okay, well, it's very obvious. You see, we can see it in front of us. And this is what's happening. And those who are with me already for a year of learning from time to time they see that I'm saying all those things, and so everything is very clear because again, there is a structure to history that God gave us through this Bible. Because again, He is not saying all sorts of ideas how the history went. He is teaching us how things are supposed to become between one to each other. Okay, say it like that. So this is basic rule number 3, the structure of history. And now I'm going to another very important rule that and it's a bit related also to rule number 2 and also to rule number 3. It's a part of the conclusion of them. If God wants that the world will manage to come to the end of days, He must plant inside, He must put inside to this world few components, few ingredients that this world will manage to come to this place, to this stage. And we call this in the Hebrew tradition, and I spoke about this with Dan, very personal, when we learned the Kuzaribu, okay? We call this, and this is very important also, the components of divine interest. God has some sort of a divine interest in this world. He has a divine interest in this world, and it's related for mainly 4 legs, I will say it like that. The prophecy, eternity, morality, and fraternity ability. Okay, those are 4 things that God planted in this world. God put in this world. At the beginning, He did it to Adam and Eve. He didn't do that to the Hebrew nation. He did it to Adam and Eve. Okay, and after 2,000 years, it came up, I will say, by Abraham, his family, especially in Jacob family, and also to all of those who got related with this family. Along history, there are some who did conversion, but there are also always those who came with us since Abraham already. So it's not only related to this family. It's like the lighthouse. This is the name, right now. The lighthouse. When you don't want that the boat will go inside to the land, to the shore. So we're putting a light. So Abraham is like a lighthouse where not only the nation of Abraham have those things, but also those who are related with Abraham are related with this, and the prophecies are speaking about those things. But this divine interest is something that is already planted in this world, and it starts with Adam and Eve. And when they're doing the mistake, it's moving to Seth. And when he's doing the mistake, when he's not managing, it's continuing with Noach. And when Noach is not managing, it's continuing on. At the end, it's coming to Abraham, and Abraham is moving, he's looking this, he's a lighthouse for all of the nations for the last 4,000 years, with those who are opposed him and those who are trying to replace him. He's not afraid. This is related with Abraham. So now we have basically, I will say, 4 main rules. Again, not mistakes, but something that is guiding us to continue on. And in a moment, I will show something that we will start to see this in the right way. Okay, so we have 4 main rules. I will say it like that. Rule number 1: we're not speaking about a history book. We're speaking about the prophecy of God, who is teaching us, and we need to open our mind. Again, we are so far from prophecy, so it sounds to us a bit rare, a bit far, but we have a tradition. We call this the secret keepers tradition. We have a tradition that is explaining this and showing this, exposing this, and sharing this in the last few years. Second rule that we spoke about, this is rule number 1, okay? Dan, you can read this. You can read it. You can see it, right?
Yeah, I can see it just fine. Rule number 1, to identify for each man who reads the Torah his historical period as an individual and part of a community in the fabric of divine eternity. So that's key about your historical period.
Exactly. And it's connected also to our historical period of today. It's not only something that is speaking about the past. from the things that happened in the past, and God spoke with us and showed us the way, on the same level, we can understand what's happening today and how to put ourselves inside to this, to in the right places. We say we have in Pirkei Avot, you have one of the lessons that you're broadcasting is Pirkei Avot. We say that every person have a time, special, unique time here in this world to that because of that he came to this world, and everything have the right position in this world. And the same thing, we are here in this time, in this period of time, so God have what to say to us and how we can bring the world to the next step of the bringing the world to the best way, to the Messiah to come. Okay, so this is rule number one. Rule number two, that we said that the creator's will and the creations of men is something that is good, and God is trying to bring us to the best place. He wants to discuss with someone that is, I will say, in his level of eyes. Now, we will never be, because we are creators and he is creator. He is creator and we are created. But he is giving us with the free will also, like his free will. And with the guidance, he's giving us the opportunity, even though we failed once, we failed twice, we failed third, and everything else, he's giving us the opportunity to repair ourselves and the way that we will be connected with God. And this is where we're speaking about those two verses. Please don't read those verses, it's okay.
And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and they shall rule over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the heaven, and over the animals, and over all the earth, and over all the creeping things that creep upon the earth. And God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Genesis 1:26 and 27.
So we're speaking twice that he's saying that it's going to be someone with the image of God. So again, we need to be very, we need to take the Bible seriously, okay? God is saying, I'm going to create something here that have my image. He's not doing this because he's a cruel God. He's not doing this because he wants us to fail. He's doing everything that we will manage with the image of God. It's also the foundation. Why it's very important not to harm anybody else, because we need to remember, I'm in the image of God, but also my friend, and also him. So if I don't like him, I will go away to the other side of the street, but I'm not going to harm him because he is in the image of God. And if I'm doing something wrong to him, so basically I'm doing something wrong to someone that is in the image of God. So we need to be careful. Okay, fair enough. But it's more than that. God is saying, I want you to manage. I want someone that I will manage to speak with. I want someone in my level that won't be afraid to discuss with me things. So this is rule number two. Rule number three is that I will say the main, there's a structure of history. I'm going to explain this a bit more. Again, I'm going to explain all of those rules much deeper, much more profound way. I'm going to expose everything. So the structure of history, and we're finding when Abraham is suddenly coming to this world, that we have some who opposed Abraham and some who are trying to replace Abraham. Some are coming and saying, we are Abraham, he's not the real Abraham. Okay? And those who are trying to kill Abraham, those and those. And it will be along all of the history like that. And the rule number four, and this is also a very important rule, is that God, because he wants that things will manage here, that the things will happen in the right way, he is implementing inside few components, okay, from his divine interest, the prophecy, the eternity, the morality way, and the fertility of ability. Those are things that God is putting inside. Now, what we did here, we didn't spoke only about mistakes, how people are learning the Bible not in the right way. We're starting to put guidelines how to learn the Bible. So what I want to show now, and we're going to, first of all, I'm sorry, let's do stop share for a moment, and with everybody, do we have any questions, anything to ask, anything to inquire, something is not wrong, or not good, disagree, or everything is okay? I managed to hypnotize all of you.
Rabbi, speaking about those four qualities, and how you share with us that prophecy has not quite returned. Through my studies, I've heard, I believe it was in Pirkei Avos in the latter. I may be mistaken, but the school of the prophets in the days of old. Now, I'm told that during the time of Elisha and after that, there was a school of the prophets, and that they had a style of teaching, and that style for prophecy for a child of the prophets was fourfold, and they had to deal with intellectual virtue, and what intellectual flaw was. They had to understand the difference, and they also had to understand character virtue and character flaws. I've heard that what the way they functioned was only twofold. They always encouraged, okay? They warned and encouraged. They warned and encouraged. That's all they did. And based on walking a life of true piety, Hashem himself would determine when something would be prophetic. So they would only admonish and warn. And when they gave a warning, they never gave that alone. They were never negative prophets. They would never warn, or they would warn if you continue down this path, this is going to happen, because they understood what was going to happen if they continued in negative behavior. And then they warned or admonished, and that admonishment was key, because I think it links in with what you're talking about here with these fourfold points. And as far as admonishing going forward, is that not what the Hebrew people are trying to do with the world today, to shine light, admonish in the right direction?
No, it's true that this is what the Hebrew people are trying to do. Things that you have been told are right, even though they are not completely, okay? There are more things. Some of them, those who are learning real Kabbalah, when I'm saying Kabbalah, I'm speaking not about things like, the Madonna and whatever it is, because those are not really full, exact Kabbalah. It's only popular Kabbalah, okay? Those who are really inside the Kabbalah, those are the people who are holding the chain of the secrets, secret ingredients that we got already from Adam and Eve, okay? And they know much more or much better a lot of points that today we don't have. And you're more than right that this is what the Hebrew nation is trying to do, and we are trying to do, but we don't have the prophecy today. Another point that I must mention, for example, just that we will realize, okay? And I will ask a question here, and please try to remember from the knowledge that you know. We know that one of the most important prophets that we had, it's not one of the most important, he was the master of the prophets for all of the people in this world, was Moses, right? Moses, he gave us the Torah, he gave us the Bible, not the Torah, the Bible, the Torah, the most important part of the prophecy. But I have a question. You can't become a prophecy without learning from someone who have the prophecy, or who knows the ingredients things. You need to be in a school of prophecy. Who taught Moses to become prophet? Question. You could all answer. Ideas.
Right from the mountain.
No. What you're saying now, it's not reasonable. Okay, it's something. He went to the mountains and he was prophet. No, someone gave him ideas. Someone gave him practices. Someone gave him things to do. He was 80 years old when he started to become a prophet, where God spoke with him. Who taught him the ingredients, the secrets, how to become prophet?
Was it Miriam?
His parents.
Okay, good questions. Good ideas. Now let's try to think for a moment. Miriam saw him for a few hours when he was on the lake in the ark. We spoke about this in the ark, just like Noah. And then she gave him to Pharaoh, right? And his mother, his parents, he didn't really knew them because she gave him food for 2 years, and then she went away. So he grew up where? In the palace of Pharaoh, right? And then he ran away when he was 20 years old. So it wasn't his parents and it wasn't Miriam. So who gave him the ingredients of prophecy?
Was it the Egyptians?
The Egyptians.
No, it'd be Hashem.
It's a good, interesting to say the Egyptians. I must say that we are another week and a half, we are going to Passover, and we're going to speak about all those things. And the Egyptians, and especially Pharaoh, was a very great man, and he is getting a very honorable place in the Bible. And God is doing a lot of things to teach him, and through him, what is God. But I'm not sure that he was a prophet. So it's a bit hard. And he ran away from the Egyptians.
Yitro.
Who's saying this? Who's saying this? Anna.
Yeah. I
Very
think
nice, Anna.
Yitro was like a priest of Midian, and he's expert in religion.
Okay, now let's go back to read for a moment something that people forgetting. Okay, people forgetting. So I'm going to share the screen again, please, with your permission. And we're going to read something that people usually forget when they are learning the Bible. Okay, let me see if it's chapter number 22, I think. Just a moment, let me see. Look, I just did a bingo. Okay, I did a bingo. No, sorry, my mistake. It's a bingo. Just a moment. I'm going to say things that are very, I'm asking that they won't admit. Yes, we know the situation. Just a moment to find the exact, no, come on. Previous. Okay, please, Dan, do me a favor. And after Sarah died, please read the first six
verses. Okay.
6 verses of just a moment. Let me put it in the right position so it will be much easier. The first 6 verses of this chapter. Yes.
And Abraham took another wife, and her name was Keturah, and she bore Zimram and Jokshan and Medan and Midian and Yishbak and Shuha. And Yokshan begot Sheba and Dedan, and the sons of Dedan were Ashurim, Letushim, and Leumim, and the sons of Midian were Ephah and Epher and Enoch and Abida and Eldah. All these were the sons of Keturah, and Abraham gave all that he possessed to Isaac. And the sons of Abraham's concubines, Abraham gave gifts, and he sent them away from his son Isaac while Abraham was still alive eastward to the land of the east.
So please, okay, fair enough, fine. So Abraham had not only Isaac and Ishmael, but he had also someone very, very important, and his name is Midian, right? One of the sons of Abraham. And Abraham, we know, was a prophet, all right? So Abraham, as a prophet, he taught his sons all sorts of things. It says here, okay, that he gave them all sorts of if he gave everything to Isaac, so what exactly he gave to the others? He gave all sorts of knowledge. And the main priest of Midian is Jethro. So when Moses is running away from the Egyptians and also from his own family, and he's sitting there is a big question how many years he sat down there, 20, 30, 40 years, maybe even 60 years. There is someone there that is teaching him all sorts of secret ingredients that came from whom? From Abraham. It's amazing to think about like that, okay? Now, I'm not saying that it was disconnected from the Hebrew nation, but it is something that we need to realize that the prophecy is not something that you can decide for yourself and that's it. By the way, this is also what's happening after that. When Moses is bringing all the Hebrew nation to the desert in front of Mount Sinai, who is coming and saying, okay, fine, you are a very good student, and now I will give them my Bible. Jethro is coming. And Moses is saying to him, no, we're going to speak with God. Because Jethro is saying, I'm the master, you are my student. This is what's happening when you're starting to read the Bible in the right way. Now, we are jumping here to Exodus. So I didn't want to jump too much to Exodus in this point of time. But we need to understand that to become a prophecy, it's not something that you sitting with yourself and doing all sorts of spiritual understanding and things and I don't know what. To become a prophecy, it's something that is related to Adam and Eve, and after that to Seth, and after that to Metushelach, and after that to Noach, and after that to Shem and Abel, and after that to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob. There is a string here that it's not coming by yourself. It's not that I will sit down with myself in all sorts of spirituality and suddenly I will become a prophet. Okay, it's not working like that. Yes, Dan, you wanted to ask something.
Yeah, Rabbi, I wanted to ask because you're talking about the actual transmission that goes all the way back, even well before the time of Moses, all the way back to Adam, and that's beautiful. Now, can I ask a question? Because we know that Abraham met with Melchizedek, it says, and the Hebrew tradition, you speak about this being in the link or connection to Shem. And I know that Pesach had mentioned where he is up in Sfat, there's the cave of Shem and Eber. Now, my question is this. In Joshua, right, in Joshua chapter 10, now we know this is like several hundred years past Abraham. It says, now in verse 1, it says, now it came to pass when Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, heard how Joshua had taken Ai. Okay, my point is that is this Adonizedek in that same link and lineage of Melchizedek from the time of Abraham? And I believe that that's the actual case, that there is historical accurate links for that connection of the transmission prior to the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. That can go back. Now, it's only sparse, but I know that if it wasn't for the Hebrew people and what they've preserved, we would be without any hope or chance if this wasn't preserved. And I just love how the Hebrew people have preserved that chain, but it gives us now several thousand years into the future. Like you've mentioned from the beginning, we're here for this time. It allows us to actually see genuine actual links. Does this book in Joshua, though, have any connection, this Adonizedek, the king of Jerusalem, any connection to Melchizedek at the time of Abraham? And I'm asking if there's honest link there.
No, so first of all, like in Pharaoh, okay, we know that the old Egyptians, every kingdom, his name was Pharaoh, even though there were few kingdoms, few kings. It wasn't only one person. So Melchizedek also on the same level. There are few kings like that, and there was some sort of a string or a connection between one king to another king, some sort of a inheritance that went there. And we have few inheritages that went along history. But the only stream that is coming to Adam and Eve, okay, the firstborn people from God that God created, till today, it's being held in the Hebrew tradition. And also what you showed in Joshua, this is where it stopped, where the Hebrew people captured Jerusalem. And that's it. This is where it stopped. From there on, the Hebrew people came to Jerusalem. And since then, wherever the Hebrew people are holding Jerusalem, all of the people of the world are invited to come to Jerusalem. Because when you have Richard Hartline is coming to Jerusalem, he won't give anybody permission except for the Christian people. And when the Muslim, will come and capture Jerusalem, they will give only to the Muslim to come to Jerusalem. Only when the Hebrew people are holding Jerusalem, everybody is allowed to come and to discuss with God. But this is what happened. It's true, there was some sort of an inheritance there of Melchizedek. It wasn't the same person, but it was his grandson. Okay, fair enough. But there was an heritage, but it finished. That's it. The only inheritance that we have today is the Hebrew connection. Before you're asking Timothy, I want to show another thing. Okay, with the permission, it's very important also to see that for once. And let me show this also. And I want to show something that is starting from the Leviticus. And I want to show all of this to you because it's written down already at least for 3,000 years ago. It says like that. At the beginning of Leviticus. We read this yesterday on this Shabbos. We started with this, okay? And he called who? God called Moses. And the Lord spoke to him from the tent of the meeting, saying, and then he says, I will read this in Hebrew and you will read this in English, okay, Dan? דבר על בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, אדם כי יקריב מכם קורבן לאדוני, מן הבהמה, מן הבקר ומן הצאן, תקריבו את קורבנכם. Please read the second verse.
So speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when a man from among you brings a sacrifice to the Lord from animals, from cattle, or from the flock, you shall bring your sacrifice.
Now in the Hebrew language, and this is one of the things that we spoke, but I didn't explain yet. In the Hebrew language, when we say the word Adam, it's reminding us who? Who this is reminding us? Adam and Eve. This is his name. It's not speaking about only the Hebrew people. It speaks about Adam. So let's see for a moment what exactly Rashi is showing us here, okay? Just a moment. When a man, okay? Just a moment. Look, no, this one, okay? Amen. Read this one, only this one, yes.
Amen. Why is the term used here as opposed to, and this is because
Ish,
it
as
alludes
opposed to
to
Ish.
Adam.
Ish is also another person, is another way to say a person, okay? So why God is using the word or the term Adam, okay?
It alludes to Adam, the first man on earth, and teaches us that just as Adam, the first man, never offered sacrifices from stolen property, since everything was his, so too you must not offer sacrifices from stolen property.
So first of all, it's a very nice idea. The idea is to remind us, like Adam, who never stole anything because everything was his, and the same thing, you don't steal anything to bring sacrifice to God. But in more profound understanding what it says here, that there are two levels of questions. And this is already starting to open for the next week. There is the relation that each person have with his fellow man, and the other relation that each person have with God. Now, it's very important for me to get close to God. Maybe for doing this, I won't have any moral behavior, and I will demolish the relationship that I have with my friend, and I will steal from him. He will move around, I will steal from him, and I'll bring it to God, and I'll feel very comfortable with myself. And the answer is, don't do that. But from whom are we learning that? We're not learning that from Abraham. We're not learning that from Isaac. We know that also from them. I can show that. This is something that is starting from the first day that the world was created. It's related to all of the humanity. It's not connected only to the Hebrew people to behave on this level. It's related to all of the humanity to behave on this level. And here I'm starting to open the mind with something that I'm going to speak next week with the question of the relationship we said today. One of the things that we said today in number 2, okay, that God created man. And I said that he did it with a lot of mercy, with a lot of hope that men will manage to become on the image of God and to discuss with him on the same level. And I'm going to explain this next time. We're going to explain this a bit more. We're going to deep inside to this issue. And it's related also to the question of the relationship that every person has between himself, with his fellow man, and with God. Those are 3 relationships that God is speaking with us. And those are the things, this is the second thing that we're going to go more profound next week on the same links. Now, we have something like between 15 to 20 minutes, so we can have any discussion that you want to bring up.
Ooh,
or anything that you want to ask. Everything that you want to ask, everything that you want to speak, to discuss, I'm here. If you want to have any questions about the things that we spoke or other things, this is our opportunity. Let's go on it.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes. Yes, please.
And we're going back to prophecy. Was there ever a prophecy that came through one of the prophets that God had him deliver to us that had a negative ending? In other words, weren't all prophecies telling us how bad we were and how terrible we were and how he's going to punish us? And then at the end it says, but, and here's redemption from it. Was there ever a prophecy didn't have that in it?
That didn't have the redemption side,
Right.
you're asking? I don't know. I don't remember a prophecy like that.
Well,
Usually,
yeah, neither do I. But I just, when we're talking about prophecy, it has its own sections. But God never says, I'm going to destroy all the earth and that's it, it's over. He always gives us the out at the end, which makes it a true prophecy, right? Lots of other people.
The admonish forward. Yeah.
I don't, the word admonish to me is a negative thing. I'm saying that's just the way it's semantics.
Okay,
but
encourage.
There you go.
To the target.
In other words, he said, get it right and everything's okay. And all the prophecies from the other religions are all death and doom prophecies. So that's how I could tell, and when I was studying, that whether it was a prophecy that came from God or from a man. And that's
you're saying, I agree with you, and I will say this point, it's a very important point that I will say it like that. We all know that in the last, I don't know if you all know that, okay, but you can search it on the internet. In the last 15 years, there's a very big, I will say, grown-up community of a positive psychologist. Now, I'm saying that the positive psychologist is something that is related to the Hebrew redemption and coming back to the homeland, because this is where the world learned that there is a redemption, not only for the private person, but also for the community, for the full nation. Now, why I'm saying that the foundation of the positive psychology is starting when we came to our homeland, because it started with Viktor Frankl, a very important psychologist that wrote his theory in the gas chambers of Auschwitz. And only a crazy Jew can go in the gas chambers of Auschwitz and find the foundation of a positive psychologist inside this Gehenna place. Why? Because we never ever thought. Because I will say it like that, and I'm strengthening your words, Pesach. because we are related and connected to God who is giving life. Therefore, we will never see, or we will never understand, we will never accept that the world is dying, or that the world will come to the end, or that the world will be punished in a way that everything is going to be blown up and everything else. We will never be like that, because we are related to God who is giving life. Therefore, we will ever have hope, even when we are sitting inside the gas chambers of Auschwitz. And this is why I agree with you, Pesach. This is one of the most important differences of the positive way how we will manage. And today the world have a lot of optimistic way. I can tell you in behind the scenes, but it's something that I will deny. I'm saying this to you. I can tell you that today, wherever the Hebrew people, today, the Israeli people are trying to buy things because of the coronavirus, straight ahead after 5 minutes, other countries are trying to buy this and the price is raising up. And I'm saying things that I know. It's not a theory. I know, I won't go inside why I know that, but it's happening all over the world, because everybody is looking at the Hebrew people and saying to themselves, they know what they're doing. We need to look exactly what they're doing and we'll do the same. So we'll manage. And it's the same with the understanding of the hope. Now, suddenly there's a hope. There's a hope in this world. And the hope is related with the connection with God. And this is where the prophecy is very optimistic. Okay? So I agree with you. Okay, more things. Yes, Timothy, you wanted to ask before and I stopped you. Yes, in a momentary. Let's say Timothy. Yes.
Thank you. So, Rabbi, so don't we know that prophecy is coming back, don't we? Because of the Israel nation coming back to Israel and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. This is what will happen. The prophecy will come back. We are waiting patiently. We don't have a lot of patience, by the way. We are waiting without any patience, but we are waiting. We're trying, we're doing our best. And it will come back. All of the books are saying that it will come back from the Bible to in the last few thousand years. It will come back, yes. This is part of the redemption. It will come back. Yes, Terry.
Okay, going back to Rashi, what you were saying there about Adam not offering up a korban, because a stolen korban, because he owned everything, and we're not supposed to offer up any stolen korban, right? Okay. Now today, with the korban being the words of our lips, our prayers, is there any way that our prayers could come from a stolen source?
Very nice question. Thank you very much for that. A very good one. It's already written down. The answer is written down already more than 1,000 years ago. Okay, with Rabbeinu Saadia Gaon. It's almost 1,000 years ago. He lived in the before 5,000 DC, the time of the. And he's saying something very interesting about the prayer. Okay, he's saying, when you're saying with your lips things, while in your mind you're thinking something else, it's like a stolen korban. Okay, because
And can you repeat that, please?
okay, because we spoke about this so many times. Dan, you will strengthen
for
me.
him, Rabbi? Can you just repeat that? He asked.
I will repeat this again. Okay. When you're saying things in your lips without really, I will say, without really believing them in your mind, it is similar to a stolen korban. And it's very simple. It's like a lie, exactly. Now, there are two ways. The most highest one is when you're saying one thing, but you're thinking the opposite. This is like a lie. When you're saying one thing and you're thinking other things, it's not a lie, but it's, after all, it's not appropriate in front of God, who can read all of your minds, to say one thing and to think of something else. So, but when you're saying one thing and you're thinking the opposite, it's like a lie. And we said it more than once, and we will say this again. One of the most important things of the Hebrew tradition is that there will be a harmony between my mind, my words, and my actions. And it's very important. You
What-
can't.
What if you're struggling, say, with a doubt, something in your mind that's doubt, but you want to change that doubt to truth and you're praying about it, but you still have doubt about the subject? Would that be considered stolen, or just you're struggling to change?
You're struggling to change it. You're asking God to help you to change it. And the main thing is you can ask from God, and I think that you have it also in the siddur that we have. One of the blessings that we have in the prayer that we're asking from God, that will give us more knowledge. We are all learning all the time. And if I'm struggling with something, I can turn to God and say to him, listen, I'm struggling. I think I told you last week that I sat down with Rabbi Shirky and I had a question for the last 17 years. And we sat down and we discussed it. And last Purim, I thought on an idea and I discussed with Rabbi Shirky. After 17 years, I had the answer. Okay, so there are things like that sometimes that we are losing, the gap of time is very long. But if you're struggling with something and you can pray to God and say to him, listen, I have a doubt, I'm not sure, help me to solve this problem. And it's a legitimate question, legitimate prayer. It's not a lying or something like that. It's excellent. It's the best way.
Isn't it the intention, even when in the time of the Bet HaMikdash, we had the Korbanot, you could go up there and go through the whole ceremony and do everything and say all the prayers, but if the intent wasn't right behind it, it meant nothing. Absolutely nothing. You just put on a big show for everybody around you. So it's the intent in which you pray. So if you're intent on having him help you resolve a problem or a question, that's good intent for prayer. Absolutely.
Exactly. This is part of the thing. Exactly. Yes. Excellent. Great
Rabbi?
question. Yes. Cool.
That's right. This kind of goes
How
back
are you
to
feeling? How are you feeling today? You have strength. Everything is okay.
Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So this kind of goes back to the question that I asked earlier before the meeting to you
Exactly.
on Facebook. I find myself when I pray, I'm with the Jewish community here with the Chabad house, and so I do my prayers in Hebrew, and I find myself memorizing the prayers to where sometimes my mind wanders when I pray, and so I'm trying to find a way to refocus, and that's what I'm thinking of, maybe starting to do my prayers in English, because that way I'm going to really understand more of what I'm saying, because I'll be honest, I don't understand everything that I'm saying in the Hebrew.
If you get an answer, share it.
Yeah. Well, no, because sometimes my mind wanders during prayer, and I wonder about that.
First of all, we all have the same problem, okay? Don't think that because I'm a rabbi and I was born as a Jewish person, my mind is not wandering around to other places in the prayer. It's happening to all of us. We are all human beings. And the second thing is what I also answered you. I answered you that it's better that you will pray with the language that you understand. It is a better thing to do. The language that you understand, it's much preferable to pray in this language. And this is also why when people are getting the siddur, the prayer book from us, we're giving it also with inside with the other language, not only with the Hebrew language. And we have it in few languages. By the way, we have a joke. In the Hebrew community, we have a joke that in the diaspora, where the Jewish people are all the time being demolished and everything else, one of the Jewish people came to his rabbi and said to him, I owe a lot of money to my master, non-Jewish person, and I don't know what to do, because if he will ask me the money, I won't have the money, and he will throw me out with my family. He will kick me out, and I won't have any place to stay. So the rabbi is asking him, is he not a Jew? He said, no, he's not Jew at all. So he's not praying any prayer, right? He said, no. So don't hesitate. He won't remember that you owe him something, because whenever you pray, usually you're starting to remember a lot of things. So we all have the same problem of trying to focus under prayer. And I'm going back and saying, cool, it's very important. This is what I answered you. It is very important to pray in the language that you understand. And it's already also, it's being written down in the Babylon Talmud. So feel comfortable with this also.
My concern,
Okay.
Rabbi.
Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, my concern with the with praying in English is everybody else is doing it in Hebrew, and I kind of feel like the odd man out when I do switch over to English. Do you know what I'm saying?
But you don't need to scream it up.
Well, no,
Nobody needs
of
to
course
know.
not. Nobody
So
needs
it's
to know
between
that.
so it's between you and God.
Gotcha, I got you.
So feel comfortable. You don't
Gotcha.
need to. Nobody really knows exactly. You feel comfortable. You need to
Gotcha.
do what is the best for you. You need to have the connection with God, and you need to do this in the best way, in the best understanding, and in the best connection with all of the parts of yourself.
Amen.
Okay. And yes, something else. We had this tonight. I think that people feel more comfortable. Oh, Matas and Yitzhak have a question. Yes, Yitzhak, only 2 years old, the son. Even less than that. Okay, good to see you, Matas.
Hey, I have a question about prophecy itself. Can you describe?
We all know when Matas is asking a question, then we need to have them another lecture about the question that he is asking. Yes, continue on.
about
yes.
the prophecy itself. It's a couple of questions. So, first of all, what actually is a prophecy? It's that God is talking to a person, or it is that person is capable to look to the future and to say what will happen after such a period. For example, the coronavirus will expire in 12th of April, for example. Yeah. So, what is a prophecy? What is a prophet, or what is a prophecy? Can it be described? What is a prophecy?
Prophecy basically is the connection between the Almighty God who created this world and man, who is a very small and very tiny, very bitty. And prophecy is a connection between God and man. Now, because prophecy is a connection between God and man, and part of the things that God is giving here is the structure of history. Therefore, prophecy will manage, or the prophecy person have the ability from time to time to say, on this path, this is what will happen, and on the other path, this is what will happen. Okay? But mainly prophecy is the connection between the Almighty God and the man that he is speaking with. And this is also why we said more than once that when in the times of the prophecy, not everybody was praying, only a prophecy that God spoke with him. When someone had something to ask from God, I want to understand something, I want to do something, he was going to a prophet, and the prophet that God spoke with him yesterday, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, he turned back to the God and said to him, look, this man is asking me to be his messenger to speak with you back. Not everybody was speaking with God. Prophecy is a connection that God is deciding to discuss with someone, to speak with someone in this world, and he is giving us what he learned from God. Okay, very clear.
So
this is only, by the way, the structure of history, and to know what's happening in the history, it's a by the way situation when he's speaking with God.
Okay, so we know that there is no prophecy since like 2,000 years ago, yeah? So 2,000 years, Jewish people, Hebrew people are like blind sheep going to nowhere because nobody has a real connection to God? Is it
It's a
that?
good, as usual, he's saying good points and good question. Rabbi Cook, Rabbi Avraham Yitzchak Cook, okay, he's saying something very amazing. He's saying that we are lacking prophecy. It's not an illness. It's not an illness that we are lacking prophecy today, but it's more like someone who doesn't have legs and hands. He's lacking something. It's much more, it's much bigger than illness. Now, as I said before, the prophecy as a prophecy, in the full prophecy, we don't have in the last 2,000 years, but we still have few holy people along history in an interesting chain until today that are living in this dimension. One of the most inspiring things that we have in the background of Terry, that is sitting down with us here, is that we can see the spaceship of what's his name?
Star Wars.
You can see this spaceship, but it's another dimension that the human never came to this dimension yet. We are not really traveling between worlds. We didn't find any other world in this world. Prophecy is another dimension. It's another dimension that we don't have here yet, or that we lost it. And we have few people who are a bit connected to this dimension, not a full connection, not a full prophecy. And those are the people who are with the real Kabbalah. I'm saying again, I know that you're one of the people who were around this popular Kabbalah, but believe me, they are not really teaching the inside secrets that of the Kabbalah. And we have few people like that in the Hebrew nation. And we hope that the prophecy will come back as soon as possible.
Okay, so
Wow.
the last question about itself. So about in this week's parasha, we read about about Shekhinah that dwelt upon the tabernacle. Yeah. So as I read in those Kabbalah that I read, for example, from Rabbi's Ashlag Yehuda or Baruch Shalom Ashlag. So it is written that person can reveal or how to say, not to reveal, but to attach to Shekhinah. So this is the same as a prophecy or not? That one person is connected to God, Shekhinah goes upon on him, and then is he in some kind of level of prophecy or not?
Moses was a prophecy. He was the master of the prophecies. Moses, yes. And this is one of the ways how to show this, okay, in front of all of the people around the in the Israel, I would say, camp, okay, that there was there in the desert. This is one of the ways to see that. There is another way, so, with Moses, we know that he had also some sort of lightness from his face. Whenever he spoke with Israel, they saw the lightness, and when he was with himself, he put up some sort of a mask, so they won't see the likeness. So there are a few other ways to see with Moses that he is related to God. But it is one of the ways, and we can see this along all of the desert time, that whenever God wanted to speak with Moses, so the cloud went down and Moses went inside, and suddenly he was speaking with God. But this is one of the ways. It's not the only way, and yes, this is true. I think we lost the time. As usual, it was very pleasure. And with all of you, you want to say something else, Pesach? Yes. Open your microphone. We can't hear you.
Yes, I just want to tell everybody that we've started a meeting
Important.
Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, USA Eastern Time in a Zoom room.
It's very important. We're working together, Pesach and me. And you all know we are working also with the other 7 languages, but it's not related to you. You don't need to learn Telugu like Yaakov Yacobi to spread the words in the Teluguish community, but the English community, in the United States, we are growing, we are getting bigger, and we starting also to build up other communities there in the United States, in Canada, in Australia. Australia is now in the middle of the light, also in the Philippines, and everywhere else. So you're more than welcome. And especially in those days of the Corona days, one of the ways to fight the Corona is to bring more morality back to this world. So you're all welcome, and you're all invited to take part of this thing. Was very pleasure to be with you tonight. And next week we'll continue on and build up the foundations, and we'll manage to continue on with Genesis for all of us.
I love
Bring
today's
the
lesson,
world to the
Rabbi.
world.
It was beautiful. Everybody, I want to thank everybody for attending. So, folks, you heard Rabbi. Until next week, have a great one.